Hi, Dr. Weiss here again. This is one in a series of short videos on how to design your specialty project. This video is about design options, which is the second page in the Design Your Specialty Project section of the website. And this features a little bit confusing, but it's really about the time and due dates and how you integrate your learning over time for each specialty track that you choose. And the most common design option is the basic design. And the basic design is essentially a rotation block that takes place over 4 weeks of time. And the contract of learning is due on the first day of the rotation, and the narrative evaluation is due on the last day of the rotation. And the evaluation in new innovations is filled out on the last day of the rotation as well. Now, this design is most common because it's simple and because it doesn't require any advanced approval of a longitudinal end date, for example. And I encourage you to do this if your project is something that you'll be able to complete in 4 weeks. The second design is called the longitudinal design. And this one definitely allows more freedom to create a more expansive project or to do a longer term research project and to incorporate activities that are clinical that might happen during your core rotations or your selective. And essentially, what this design means is that while the contract is due on the first day of rotation, the narrative is due at a date determined by the student and agreed upon by the faculty member. And it's later than the last day of the course. If you happen to be doing a block 1 or block 2 longitudinal project, you can't have a date later than May 28th, May 30th for your end date because the documentation needs to be on time for you to have your grade posted in Turo 1. But other than that, there aren't any significant restrictions except that if you don't get this approved at the time that you register for the course, the end date is assumed to be the end date of the rotation or the basic design or 4-week block. So this is something that you have to plan ahead of time. You'll want to meet either with your clinical distinction advisor to discuss it or your faculty sponsor. And then you need that date, that end date to be posted on the rotation request form. And this is simply so that we know your documentation's not late and there's not a bunch of confusion about whether or not you passed the course. The progressive design is a little bit different than the longitudinal design in that it can include a basic or a longitudinal project, and it's really more about the content. And what a progressive design really is it's a use or study of the same topic over multiple courses. This might be both of your clinical distinction courses, and it might be also including your selective course or core rotation time. So just for example, this might be a pediatrics topic area, and the progressive design would include a research project in pediatrics as well as a clinical distinction clerkship style track in pediatrics. And then because this student is so eager to go into pediatrics and excited about learning it, they might also do their selective in pediatrics. And finally, during their core rotation time, every time they see a pediatric patient with RSV, they might make some notes and comments about it. And at the end of their second clinical distinction block, they would write up a evaluation of their project, which included mentioning the activities that happened during these other pediatric experiences. Now, the key feature of this is that the content has a chance to really deepen and be explored at a much more deep way. The requirements, however, for each course involved in the progressive design are unchanged. So if you do both your clinical distinction courses on the same topic with a progressive design, you still need a contract and a narrative evaluation for both clinical distinction courses. And of course, for a selective, you'll have to have a clinical preceptor evaluation of your work. Why might you do this? The progressive design is a way for, again, a deeper exploration or extended time to work on specific competencies or entrustable professional activities. What I find is that the projects done in this way tend to really show features of the student's development because of the fact that it happens over time. And your contracts and narratives, while you might have two on the same topic, and they might even list many of the same activities, will show what you completed at the end of each block. So, for example, if your design was to start a research project, develop a survey, give the survey out, and analyze your results, your evaluation at the end of your first clinical distinction might indicate that you had completed a literature review, developed the survey, and gotten an IRB approved. And at the end of the second project, your narrative evaluation might include the process of getting the IRB, developing the project, but also would include your analysis and your data. So you can see that there's some overlap between the progressive and the longitudinal design, that the basic design is the most simple. And I encourage you to talk to your clinical distinction advisor about what would be the best design for you. I hope you enjoy your clinical distinction experience.